Alyssa Thomas shoved her fist into Caitlin Clark's neck while Clark was lying on the floor, and the referees didn't call a foul, a flagrant, or anything at all, but that wasn't even the worst moment of the night. Before Clark limped off the court in the third quarter, Thomas had also driven her knee into Clark's groin, the same area Clark had been dealing with since last season, and then stepped right over her as if she wasn't even there. Every single one of those plays was ignored by the officials, so when Stephanie White stepped up to the microphone after the game, she wasn't just frustrated, she completely lost patience and made it clear she was done acting like this was normal. Stay with us because Caitlin Clark has finally spoken out about the incident on social media, and we're going to break everything down. What do you think the league should do about Alyssa Thomas? Let me know in the comments below.
I mean, Caitlin to the ground, and ooh, that's a hand to the neck, and then Alyssa Thomas steps over her. See, that's the kind of stuff that can incite some future trouble.
What happened on June 24th didn't begin on June 24th. It actually goes back to 2024 during Clark's rookie season, when Alyssa Thomas crashed straight into her whole body as Clark came off a screen. There was no attempt to play the ball and no effort to slow down, just a hard body check that knocked Clark off balance. The referees saw the entire play but kept their whistles silent. There was no foul, no review, and Thomas simply walked away like nothing had happened because, as far as the officials were concerned, nothing had happened at all.
Take another look here at the heavy contact. A little bit of a shoulder there. Not a little bit, a lot of a shoulder there for Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, they're not going to look at this. They might.
It's gotten the fans here fired up.
That moment was more important than most people realized because it showed Thomas exactly how much she could get away with. When you hit someone and nothing gets called, you don't stop being physical, you keep doing it. The next time, you might even go a little harder because the league has already shown there are no real consequences. And Clark wasn't the only player Thomas tested that limit against. During the 2025 playoffs, she hit Napheesa Collier so hard that Collier was still dealing with the injury almost a year later. At another point, when Angel Reese confronted Thomas, Thomas responded by choke slamming her. This isn't a player who only gets physical once in a while or occasionally crosses the line. This is someone who keeps hurting opponents and continues playing the same way because the officials don't make the calls.
The tip was clean by Thomas.
Look at that.
And they banged knees after Napheesa Collier.
She has 21 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and Fee is being helped back to the locker room. Let's go over to Angel Gray.
Yeah, I'm watching her walk through the tunnel right now. She is clearly...
So, by the time June 24th, 2026 arrived, the history between Thomas and Clark wasn't just some small background detail, it was the reason everything that happened in that game felt so significant. Thomas had already shown she was willing to go after Clark aggressively, and the officials had already shown they weren't going to stop her. Phoenix also entered the game with a clear mindset about how they wanted to face Indiana. DeWanna Bonner, who once played for the Fever and still seemed to have strong feelings about the team, openly described Phoenix's approach as revenge. The Mercury had lost to the Fever just 2 nights earlier on June 22nd, and Bonner made it clear this victory was meant to be payback. That June 22nd game is also important because it raised the tension going into the rematch. It featured 6 technical fouls and 1 ejection after Myisha Hines-Allen was thrown out for shoving Thomas during an altercation that also involved Clark and Bonner.
Hopper able to win the jump. Thomas comes up with it, but is going to get whistled for an offensive foul. And she's looking at Nate Tibbetts. He doesn't even look to the back of the bench. He immediately signaled to take a look at.
Oh,
yeah, that's
saw
not gonna
the
get,
elbow extend from behind, and
that's not going to get overturned, I don't think.
So, the Fever already knew Phoenix would come back playing aggressively, and Phoenix already knew the Fever weren't going to just stand there and take it. The referees knew all of this as well, which is exactly why their performance on June 24th was so difficult to watch. A body check is a decision, a knee to someone's groin is a decision, and pressing a fist into someone's neck while they're lying on the floor is also a decision. None of those actions happen by accident. When players make those choices and the officials don't call anything, the only message they receive is that they can keep doing it. After the incidents in 2024, the WNBA never publicly addressed Thomas's physical play against Clark. There was no statement, no fine, and no acknowledgement that what happened went beyond the rules. There was only silence, and in situations like this, silence can easily be seen as approval.
This is one of the wildest games I have ever watched in my life. I watched Caitlin Clark get punched in the throat. I watched Caitlin Clark get kneed in the groin, get kneed in the ribs. I watched Caitlin Clark hit the ground repeatedly. For months now, I've been talking about how Stephanie White's system will lead to a Caitlin Clark injury.
Phoenix didn't come into the June 24th game planning to play clean basketball and let the game decide itself. They came in with a clear plan to be physical with Clark from the very first possession because that approach had already worked before, and the league had never given them a reason to change it. Thomas knew the referees weren't going to protect Clark, Bonner knew it, and the entire Mercury roster knew it because the proof was already there from 2024, with those incidents going unaddressed and unpunished. Clark walked into that arena facing a situation the league had allowed to grow over the past 2 years.
If I had to pick like a pump-up
Even with all of
song
that,
for the game,
she
I would
came out in the
go
first quarter
Intro
playing
by
like
Meek
she
Mill.
had
It's,
something
like,
to
mixed
prove
with the
against the
Phil
entire
Collins
Phoenix Mercury
song,
roster.
which is like
She scored 13 of her 19 total points in the opening quarter alone, shooting 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc, and a perfect 6 of 6 from the free throw line. She finished the game with 19 points and 8 assists in less than 20 minutes on the court. Just think about that for a moment because those are incredible numbers for any player, especially someone who spent several possessions being physically targeted by an opponent who clearly came into the game with aggressive intentions.
Clark, sidestep three, fading, hits!
All she needs is a little bit of room to see the ball.
13 lead here for Phoenix. It's been a back and forth opening quarter so far. Clark getting right to the hoop. Clark, early in the bag, step back three, connects again!
That's when Thomas started doing what she's become known for. The first incident happened in the second quarter during a loose ball scramble when Thomas drove her knee straight into Clark's groin. It wasn't a slight bump or accidental contact between two players chasing the same ball. Her knee struck the exact area where Clark had previously been dealing with an injury. If you watch the replay, the contact is clear and hard to miss. The officials were standing right there, yet they didn't call anything.
Streaking to the basket, and here's what hustle plays are all about. You got 3 Phoenix players around Caitlin Clark, and yeah, it's physical.
To the ground, and ooh, that's a hand to the neck, and then
came the moment with the fist. Clark
we're facing. I'm just super happy to be a part of this franchise and how they've supported me through this whole thing and had my
It
back.
wasn't a light touch or an awkward hand placement while trying to get up. It was a closed fist pressed into her neck while Clark was still on the ground. That wasn't a basketball play, and it wasn't just tough physical competition. It looked like an intentional act to hurt an opponent. The referees were close enough to see everything clearly, yet they still didn't blow the whistle. After the first half, Stephanie White said she brought the incident to the officials' attention, but they responded by saying they hadn't seen the contact, raising serious questions about how the play was missed. Thomas then stepped directly over Clark while she was still lying on the floor. In many other games, stepping over a player like that can result in a technical foul, but Clark got nothing. There was no call, no review, and not even a discussion among the officials about what had just happened, allowing Thomas to walk away without any penalty once again.
Hey fam, get AT out of the league, bro. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, fam. AT is a dirty player. All the way through and through, dog. She is a dirty player. She can't beat you, so she beat you, literally. This is nonsense, man. This is nonsense. Yo, Caitlin Clark was busting they butt out there. She literally had 19 points, 8 assists. She was ready to sleepwalk into a double-double, 20 plus points, 10 assists. She was sleepwalking into it. And here come AT with this nonsense, man.
Even separate from the incidents involving Thomas, there was another dangerous moment when a defender made a reckless closeout on one of Clark's three-point attempts. The defender came in so carelessly and out of control that Clark landed on her foot after the shot, almost rolling her ankle right there on the court. That play also went uncalled. There was no flagrant review, no stoppage to look at it, and no response from the officials at all.
Not going to return. This was in the third quarter. She was on the bench in that timeout, and you can see her face. She's grimacing, and she immediately decides that she's going to go back to the locker room. And in the third quarter, Paris gave us the update.
So, by that point, Clark had taken a knee to an area where she had already been injured, a fist to the neck, a deliberate step over while she was on the floor, and a reckless closeout that nearly caused her to roll her ankle, yet the officials didn't call a single one of those plays. Clark went into halftime with a heat wrap around her back, which showed the contact had clearly taken a physical toll. When the training staff starts applying a heat wrap during halftime, it's not just routine treatment. It's a sign that a player is dealing with real pain while trying to decide if they can keep playing. Clark returned to the court after the break, but in the third quarter she left the game because of her back injury and didn't come back for the rest of the night.
Hines Allen. Muscle on muscle, and Hines Allen wins the battle, and a foul.
Be physical, and in the post-up game is one place right here. 2 hard dribbles, gets the leverage, playing undersized. And
it's also important to be clear about what happened. Clark's body took repeated hits to an area that was already vulnerable, and none of those plays were called, until eventually she couldn't keep going. Phoenix didn't simply outplay Caitlin Clark. Thomas kept making physical plays against her until Clark was forced to leave the court, while the officials allowed it to continue without stepping in. Even after Clark exited the game, Indiana didn't fall apart. Aaliyah Boston was already putting together one of her best performances of the season, finishing with 23 points and 9 rebounds, and she kept attacking the paint with the same calm and relentless effort she brings every game. Kelsey Mitchell also took control offensively, scoring 30 points and adding 6 assists in 38 minutes, and on almost any other night, that performance would have been the biggest story. Myisha Hines Allen contributed 13 points and made sure Phoenix couldn't dominate the paint without facing resistance. Even without their best player, the Fever stayed within reach in a tight game deep into the fourth quarter, showing just how hard this team continued to compete. Then the officials started making decisions that were very difficult to understand. With just 2 minutes and 12 seconds remaining and Indiana trailing by only 2 points, Aaliyah Boston was called for a flagrant 1 foul after the officials ruled that she had elbowed Kalia Copper in the face.
Leadership right there. Kelsey Mitchell knows she's been in these types of situations. Of course, Aaliyah Boston and Raven Johnson going to get called on this foul against Copper.
The issue was that Copper appeared to foul Boston first, yet after the review, the officials still upgraded the play to a flagrant 1 against Boston, giving Phoenix 2 free throws and possession of the ball. One analyst described it as a possible 4 to 6 point swing, and considering the stage of the game, that wasn't an unreasonable way to look at it. Indiana desperately needed a defensive stop to stay in the game, but instead, Copper made the free throws, and shortly after that, Sada Sabali added 2 more from the line. In just a few moments, Indiana's 2-point deficit turned into a much tougher gap to overcome. Not long after, Kelsey Mitchell fouled out on an offensive foul that she later described as a very soft call. After the game, she said the final foul felt much softer than several of the earlier plays, while also adding that the team needed to do a better job of keeping the officials from becoming part of the story. Mitchell's exit after scoring 30 points wasn't just another lineup change. Losing her at that stage took away Indiana's biggest offensive threat when they needed her the most, and with the clock winding down, the Fever had no easy way to replace that production.
I mean, Caitlin to the ground, and ooh, that's a hand to the neck, and then Alyssa Thomas steps over her. See, that's the kind of stuff that can incite some future trouble.
Raven Johnson was then called for a foul in the final minute, sending Phoenix back to the free throw line once again, and that sequence effectively ended Indiana's chances of making a comeback. The Fever's final meaningful possession ended when Johnson couldn't control a pass from Lexi Hull, resulting in a turnover that sealed the game. Looking back at the fourth quarter, there was Boston's flagrant one, Mitchell's offensive foul that many questioned, and Johnson's late foul. 3 major calls, 3 important possessions, all going in Phoenix's favor during the closing moments of a game Indiana still had a chance to win. After the game, Stephanie White told reporters that the Mercury attempted 24 free throws in the second half alone, while Indiana was called for 11 fouls in the fourth quarter compared to just 2 against Phoenix. The same officials who saw no reason to blow the whistle during the incidents involving Thomas somehow found 11 fouls to call on Indiana in a single quarter with the game on the line.
During the game, have you seen that? Did that have any impact on her health in this one?
I just saw it. I'm not sure if it had any impact on the health or her health or not. But it was egregious. The fact that it was a no call. I heard about it at halftime. I brought it to the attention of the officials at halftime. Yet we still had 11 fouls in the fourth quarter to their 2. They still shot 24 free throws in the second half.
By the closing minutes, both Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell were playing with 5 fouls, which meant they had to be extra careful on every possession. They couldn't play as aggressively as they normally would because every move carried the risk of fouling out, and considering how those fouls were distributed, many people questioned the situation. Indiana entered the fourth quarter with a real chance to win. Boston still had 23 points, Mitchell had 30, and Myisha Hines-Allen continued battling hard in the paint. The Fever gave everything they had, but many felt the officiating in the fourth quarter made that effort even harder to overcome. Stephanie White didn't step up to the microphone looking to start an argument. Throughout the season, she had raised concerns about officiating through the proper channels, questioned the consistency of the calls, and handled the situation professionally, but according to her, nothing changed. So after watching Clark take a fist to the throat, a knee to an area where she had previously been injured, and then get stepped over while she was still on the floor, with none of those plays being called, White had reached the point where she was no longer willing to hold back her frustration.
Number one, you gotta call it. It's absolutely egregious and utterly disrespectful. And then number 2, you're coming in here aware of what happened 2 nights ago, and that shit still happens? Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
She described the officiating as egregious and completely disrespectful, not as an emotional reaction to a difficult loss, but as a direct response to what she personally witnessed during the game. White told reporters that she informed the officials about the incident where Thomas pressed her fist into Clark's neck during halftime, explained exactly what had happened, and pointed it out to them, but they responded by saying they hadn't seen it. White made it clear that she found that explanation completely unacceptable. She had brought it to their attention at halftime, giving the officials the entire second half to address the situation, yet nothing changed. White also criticized the way the league handled the reckless closeout on Clark's 3-point attempt, the play where Clark landed on the defender's foot and nearly rolled her ankle.
And the reckless closeout that they actually review, and the foot still comes down on top of the defender's foot that wasn't upgraded? Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar who had 2 cheap shots right there that weren't called. And I just say again, absolutely unacceptable.
What made White's comments stand out from her previous post-game reactions was how detailed she was this time. She specifically mentioned the incident involving the fist to Clark's throat, called it dangerous and unbelievable, and connected it to what she believes has been Clark's treatment across the league. White said Clark is not officiated the same way as other players, and that wasn't simply the reaction of a coach upset after a loss. It sounded like someone who had watched the same pattern happen over and over again and had finally lost patience with it. After the game, Clark also responded on Instagram with just 3 words, "This is enough." There was no long explanation and no emotional statement, just those 3 words. Clark is not known for publicly complaining, so a post like that after leaving the game with an injury carried significant meaning. She had taken a knee to a previously injured area, a fist to the throat, a step over while she was on the floor, and nearly rolled her ankle on a reckless closeout, yet she still finished with 19 points and 8 assists before being forced to leave in the third quarter. "This is enough" didn't come across as simple frustration. It sounded like someone saying they had finally reached their limit. Phoenix's response only added more attention to the situation. DeWanna Bonner described the win as a revenge game, spoke about how beating the Fever would build the Mercury's confidence, and focused completely on the team's momentum without mentioning any of the physical incidents involving Clark. Thomas also chose not to comment publicly. When a player accused of driving a knee into an opponent's previously injured area and pressing a fist into her neck feels no need to address the controversy, many people see that as a reflection of how accountability is being handled. As of the post-game period, the WNBA league office had not announced any formal review or disciplinary action involving Thomas. There was no statement, no suspension, and no official update. White said she informed the officials about the incident at halftime, but according to her, nothing was done. Clark later posted just 3 words on Instagram, "This is enough," and many viewed the league's silence as the only response that followed. Clark's next home game is against the Sparks on June 27th, followed by a full week off before facing the Aces on July 5th, giving her back some time to recover, which is encouraging news for Indiana. Even so, there had still been no announcement regarding Thomas, no review, no suspension, and no further action. The officials told White at halftime that they hadn't seen the incident involving the fist to Clark's throat, and that explanation appeared to be the final word from the league. Boston finished with 23 points, Mitchell scored 30, and White stood at the podium without backing away from a single comment she made. Through it all, the league remained silent. What do you think the league should do about Alyssa Thomas? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates and top stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.